So far, we've looked at a bunch of different parts of speech and how you can diagram them. In this lesson, we're going to look at conjunctions, but only one type of conjunction, the coordinating conjunction. The other two will be saved for later. So the other two are correlative and subordinating conjunctions. Subordinating ones are the biggest category, but they really only become important when you start to look at multiple clauses where one is dependent and one is independent. Coordinating conjunctions also tie together smaller parts of a sentence, and that's why we really want to look at them now. So a conjunction then, as you can kind of guess, ties together or connects parts of a sentence, and a coordinating one ties together two equal parts of a sentence. Now that can be just a couple of words. So if you look at this sentence here, Bill and Mary, we're connecting two nouns with each other, like roller coasters. And we also have but, and but here connects two entire clauses. So the first one is Bill and Mary like roller coasters. That could be a sentence by itself. And then I detest them with a passion. That can also be a sentence. And so but is doing the work of connecting them. So again, coordinating means that these are equal elements. There are exactly 7 coordinating conjunctions in English. So we have for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. The reason I've listed them like this is because they have a kind of acronym. They spell out Fanboys if you take the first letters. You could also think about them differently. I like to think that and but go together, similarity and difference. For, or, and nor rhyme with each other, and then we just have yet and so to think about. A lot of these you don't have to worry too much about at this point. We're mostly going to look at and in this lesson. That's the most common one that we'll see here, especially because we're not going to spend a tremendous amount of time on these coordinating conjunctions that tie together multiple clauses. We'll have a few examples here and there, but in our more advanced course on sentence diagramming, we're going to look more at multiple clauses. Okay. All right. So we have 7 coordinating conjunctions. We've got an example here. Let's take a moment then to diagram this particular example. There are a few things to notice here. So as you can see, Billy and Mary are on separate lines, and we've drawn a dotted line kind of to connect them. And then these lines come together again and join up with the horizontal line. And we've put and here kind of in between to show that the conjunction ties these things together. We also have but in between our two clauses. Again, we have this kind of dotted line. Okay. And then but is on a horizontal line that is complete, and it shows that these two clauses are connected. Usually when we have a coordinating conjunction between two clauses, we put it between the two verbs. So we have like and attest. Some people do this a little bit different. So what they do is they basically just have a dotted line at the start, kind of like that. They can write but beside it if they want. And then they have the next clause here kind of right up to this dotted line. So that would be acceptable as well. It's kind of up to you, but we're just going to do it this way where we put the coordinating conjunction between the two verbs. Let's look at one more example of connecting clauses here. And in this case, we're going to have pretty much 3 short sentences. Okay. And I'm just going to do this by hand so the lines will not be quite as straight. But let's say you take Julius Caesar's line and change it slightly. If you say he came, okay, there's our first clause. And then we're going to add, there we go. We're going to add something else after this. So we're going to say he saw. He saw. All right, so let's add a line. There we go. And then we have one more thing here. He saw and he conquered. So he saw and boom, boom, boom. And you can see this is a little messy. That's okay. He conquered. There we are. Add the lines here. Now, if we had a comma in the original, so he came, he saw, and he conquered, then what do we put here? And what is suggested by a lot of guidebooks, and we will follow this rule as well, is that we put an X here. Okay, so we just put an X to show that there's something kind of missing here. We have to connect these things. But in the original, there was only a comma, and we can't really put a comma in. So we'll put an X. Now, sometimes when there are specific words missing, we would actually just put that in brackets. Okay, so you could put and in brackets. In this case, an X kind of makes sense to show the missing comma, but an and in parentheses would be totally fine as well. And this is always a tricky thing, right? Do you put the X or do you put a word in parentheses? When we do know the word, I think for the most part we are going to put it in parentheses to clarify, but sometimes the X is totally fine. All right, so as we go on here, we're going to see a few more examples of how coordinating conjunctions are used to tie things together. And we'll start with verbs. So this particular sentence reads, Adrian berated his coach and left the gym. And notice how the verbs are connected with and then you can also see how each verb actually has a direct object right after it. In our next example, we're going to see that the coordinating conjunction can also tie together adjectives. And this sentence reads, the fox ate 3 plump and juicy chickens. All right, so let's have one final example then. And in this case, we have 2 prepositions working together. So this sentence reads, I will see you before or after lunch. Hopefully that helps to make some sense of how you can use coordinating conjunctions to tie together multiple things in your diagram.